Good evening, good evening, good evening.
Lord, I need you to guide me when I'm alone. Need you to stand on throughout my storms, from city to nation. Your love belongs, because your love is what my heart will stand on. Lord, I need you to guide me when I'm alone. Need you to stand on throughout the storms, from city to nation. Your love belongs, because your love is what my heart will stand on. Because your love is what my heart will stand on.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, you all. Welcome. I am Stephen Walker. I am the host of the Black Sheep Project. I'm excited to be with you all tonight. This is the first edition of what we are going to be starting, and this episode is the pilot episode. And so, as I am excited to be with you all here tonight, I want to, kind of break down with you all, like, what is the Black Sheep Project? Like, what is it supposed to be? Sheep, project, or if you hear this term Black Sheep, you may think to yourself, the one who's the outcast, or the one, um, who doesn't maybe, fit in with everybody. And, to kind of, bridge that conversation and to kind of let you know exactly what that is. Now, I want to enlighten you all what the Black Sheep Project is supposed to be about. It is a collection of stories of people um, who are going through rough times due to a fact that they have been neglected, or people who have not been accepted, or people who have felt like they don't fit in. Whatever is your story, you have a opportunity here on the Black Sheep Project to come and talk, to come and let people know exactly what their story is, what your story is. And so throughout the weeks and for the remainder of this year, I'm going to have multiple people who you may know, famous, or people who you just may know through family and friends. People who are impacting communities, impacting um, their friend circles based off their stories. And so, with the first person who I have coming for the pilot of this project is none other than Faith McKinnon. I will let you know I've known her for only a few months, but what I can say is that throughout her spiritual growth, of what I've seen, she has cultivated her growth through spiritual enlightenment, through prayer, through worship, through pouring out. And even with that spiritual growth, we all come from somewhere. We all have embraced a background or narrative that maybe, she's has to face. And we all have to face something. And so I want to go ahead and bring Faith on. And so here is Nada Faith McKinnon.
Hi,
Hello, Faith.
um, my name is Faith McKinnon, and like you said, I'm on here pertaining to just my experience. Like he was speaking on, everything that he was speaking about is true. Just the short period of time that I've known Stephen, seven, that we have the spiritual growth, the spiritual guidance that I have received that has allowed me to grow and become more enlightened in my spiritual life, has helped me with when it comes to being a part of sheep. I can say for myself that being the black sheep has felt good. I've learned to also be the person to, regardless of good, you know, that process. So basically, with that being said, I learned to make sure that I could still come and conquer those emotions of feeling like I was the black sheep, that I was always the outcast, that I never fit in with, certain groups, whether it's
Yeah.
family, whether it's friends, you know,
Uh,
certain things of that sort.
I'm not sure if you can hear me. Your connection is spotty, Faith. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can hear you. I can't see you.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, your connection is very spotty. And so you can go ahead and restart. I want to make sure that you're all good on your side.
Okay, just one moment. Let me make sure everything is. Can you hear me better now?
Um, Sounds a little bit the same, but go ahead.
Okay. So, my name is Faith McKinnon. As Stephen had brought me on to basically be a person to share my story as well of being a part of the Black Sheep, and just giving you guys a little background of who I am. I have spiritually grown, and in just a little short time that I have known him, I've grown tremendously, whether in my spiritual life or just spiritual enlightenment that I've received. I have also been that person that I had to learn how to conquer being the black sheep, whether it was through family, whether it was through friends, the growing up, even sometimes through siblings, just for the simple fact that I might have not always did the same things that everyone else did, and I always chose a different walk. I It doesn't mean that I was perfect. It's just that I chose still spiritual guidance. I still chose Christ. And sometimes when you choose that and people see the things that you may not do, that in their way it should be perfect, sometimes you become an outcast because they're not used to seeing that walk of faith, seeing that, yearn to grow in your faith, yet you're not probably there yet, but you're growing to get there.
Faith, hearing your conversation, it makes me think about how there are people out here who are just like you. People who, because not everybody's Christian. Not everybody, is walking in that particular faith background. And so, there are people who are Muslim, who deal with their own form of black sheep. There are people who are, you know, Buddhists or whatever, that faith background may be, the different religions and the different spiritual backgrounds. But this Black Sheep project is not supposed to be limited to the Christian family, because not everybody, has to be Christian to feel like they're a black sheep. Not everybody has to be Christian to feel like they don't have, or that they haven't been accepted in their family. And so, if you can share with us, a painful experience that you had to um, go through and come out of doing all those obstacles growing up.
I could speak about how when I was growing up, I'm number 5 out of 7, and my mother is a single parent of 7. My father was sporadically there throughout time, wasn't really there like all the time. So, and the certain things that he presented to us and also to the family, it just made people shun on us. So it made us not get accepted because of the things that my father showed. And so because he might have not had the same aspects on life, or might have the same things that other, men or married couples did, or just families in general, it's like we had to pay for what he didn't do. So we didn't get accepted. I didn't really get accepted from my grandmother, which is his mother. We didn't really get accepted from the my other side of the family because that was my father. So it was like one of those things where, okay, what do you do? So it was pretty painful to have to experience it. But the older I got, I just learned to conquer it.
What I hear is family dynamics, and it's pretty interesting that you mentioned family in that context, because I'm currently writing a paper, speaking to how family dynamics can impact, the generational communication between siblings, or the communication between aunts and nephews and nieces, or fathers and brothers and sisters. Um, if I can be transparent, me and my experience being a black sheep, um, I've sometimes felt like I've been alone, um, in growing in faith and knowing who I am now. Sometimes it could feel like that person who you want to understand, who is that black sheep. It's kind of hard for you to understand where they're coming from. It's hard for you to,
Yes.
put it, it's hard for you as the one looking at the black sheep to say, you know what, like, give them encouragement. And it's been multiple times in my life where people have tried to encourage me, and it's hard for them to encourage me because I'm just like, you don't understand what I go through. You don't understand, the vices. You don't understand the pain. You don't understand, the misunderstandings, or the misconceptions, the misinterpretations. And so, I guess growing up through your, stages of like your life, um, have you ever felt like God has always been talking to you this whole time?
I can say that I have felt like God has always talked to me through this whole time. It started when I was younger. I've always had that tug on me. Now, have I always listened, or have I always allowed myself to be guided? No. I did always have God in my life, but did I always make him the center? No. Because there's a lot of times where I would stray away to try to feel accepted, to try to belong. But I always found myself not belonging because I always had that background within myself. And most people that was growing up with me, they didn't really, I guess, get that part. So they were just like, why you always talking about God, or why you always this, or why you always that. So it's just like being pushed away, on top of already sort of running away from Christ because of me not getting accepted by the world. So it's just like me tugging in two different directions, trying to get accepted.
Okay. The world would never accept us for who we are. for who we sometimes want to be, especially if it's always progressive.
That's true.
So I definitely sympathize with that. It's just like we, as believers are always up against what the world is saying, and I am a firm believer, that we have to stand ground and stand up for something or stand for who you want to be. Like I don't care if it's the righteous thing or the unrighteous thing. Like if that's who you want to be that. Like the world says, be hot or cold, don't be lukewarm. And so I definitely understand that growing up, even in my college years, it was rough choosing which side I wanted to be on. Yeah, and I think that's how a lot of people our age or this generation of people in our society is struggling to pick a side on which life they want to live. I'm I know how difficult it can be to pick a side to lean on, but it can sometimes feel like you want to be a different person and you know that you should. You know that your grandma been praying for you to be this person. You know that your mama been begging for you to change your ways and change your life, but you as a person hasn't made that choice up, like in your mind. And so, my next question would be, have you been through situations or can you describe a situation where you knew that you needed a change, but it had got real hard to make that change?
Um, I can speak of a time, previous relationship that I had. My family was just going in, and they're just like, "Faith, I can't believe you," and this, that, and the third. Praying for me, calling up the prayer warriors, and I'm just like, "No, I want to help. I want to help." Like it was genuinely sincere. It wasn't like I was trying to go down the wrong road. I was just trying to be assistance to help someone. And unfortunately, everyone was taking it the wrong way. And I was also experiencing some things that I probably should have never had to probably experience, just for the simple fact that if I would have came out before then, I had to experience it. So it was a lot of chaos within that relationship. I ended up getting pregnant in the middle of that relationship and having a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. And I didn't tell my family about it. So it was a moment where I had to tell my family that I was pregnant, tell them that I was losing it all at the same time. And I was by myself in that moment. And I had to realize, I'm just like, you're going to have to be strong and you're going to have to pull through this because your family's not here. So you're going to have to lean on God. But also, you got to make up in your mind what you're going to do, because it's too much going on in this relationship. And there's too many signs, not just because I lost a child, but just too many of the experiences that I was going through. And yet I was trying to help, but some people got to want to be helped for you to be able to be that help. So I got myself caught up trying to help something that wasn't ready to be helped. And it was pulling me down and breaking me down. So I had to find myself, just trying to get out of that situation. Everyone was disappointed in me. They're just like, they just couldn't believe that I was allowing myself to go through these things that I were going through. So I'm just like, well, I got to come when I'm ready to come out. And I always tell them that I got to come out when I'm ready to come out. And when I finally seen time, I ran and I never looked back.
Um, it's a very interesting story because me personally, it's a very familiar situation that women can find themselves in regards to like partners and whatnot. I don't know. Well, I can guess. I do know why it can be such a big struggle. Um, being with somebody or choosing a person, because you like that person or not. Um, I know that as we go through things in our life, um, we are always trying to figure out how we can help somebody else. And I know personally that you can't be a black sheep helping another black sheep. You know, you can't be sick, or you can't be, feeling like you don't fit in, helping somebody else who don't fit in, because none of you all gonna help each other out along the way. And so, I can also sympathize with your story because, when I was younger, I want to say I was what, 18 then, we or I ended up losing a child of my own as well. And so it was definitely a interesting experience. I am always considering, what was that message supposed to be. Um, I wouldn't say it was a black sheep message, but I've been in situations where I didn't feel like I fit in, or I felt like I didn't really understand what was supposed to mean for my life. And so, to those watching, Faith was having some communication problems, but as we continue to press forward, it doesn't matter exactly, what you have gone through, you all. I want you all to understand that we have to. Hey, Faith, welcome back. That
Alrighty.
we that we have to understand exactly, what are the things, um, that God is trying to show us through our journey. What I was sharing with the people, Faith, is that that it is a very familiar thing when women pick partners and then they try to help them out with whatever they're with whatever they're facing. And it's like you can't be a black sheep helping another black sheep, because this is
That
like it's like one thing I could definitely say in my own black sheep phases in my life is that sometimes I don't have the right perspectives. Sometimes I don't have the right mindset, got the right ideas, and or I make the worst decisions being who I am during that season of my life. And so, um, have you in your own life felt like being a black sheep, that you have had some of the most depressing moments? And if you haven't, then you haven't. But if you have, what has been some of the most, traumatizing moments in your life being a black sheep?
I'll go back to, like I was stating about the ruptured ectopic pregnancy. You would always want, when you're going through a time like that, you're going to want someone to be there for you. And to feel like that you don't have really no one there for you, other than like your family. Yeah, I had my immediate family, but I'm just like, okay, sometimes you just want support, and to sometimes only have your immediate family when you have other family and you've seen them show up for others is disappointing. So it's just it can semi break you down, and you have to just be strong in a way that you could be able to allow yourself to be able to look beyond you feeling like that you're by yourself, or that it's because it was pretty depressing, not having no one to check on me other than my mom and my siblings. And that could be rough. Not even the person that I was impregnated by, just by, certain things. So I'm just like going through all of this during this time was very depressing. So, it, and it's just a different type of depression, but I had to lean. And I know, like you said, Black Sheep isn't really based off of just your belief, but that's what carried me through my Black Sheep.
Yeah, conversation. Like what were the things that in your faith belief that pulled you through, and what methods was that? So if I could rephrase that question, Um, because you are a Christian, what are some things that you did in your Christian journey um, to contribute to where you are at now, to help you know the phases of your life being a black sheep?
I had to cling closer to God. I had to separate myself from family and friends. I had to get an understanding for myself, and I had to break away. For so long, a lot of people, they just do what they're brought up with, generational remedies, generational upbringing, all those sort of things. But sometimes you have to break away and get it for yourself. So through all these hard times, I soon started listening to my own sermons on my own, or I started going to church by myself, not to have like, oh, I'm with family and I'm just here with them. No, I want to get an understanding because I want to be able to have a faith based on my own, not my grandma's faith, not my mother's faith. So I've always looked at, I'm just like, I need to be able to grow spiritually, personally on my own, rather than the only faith that I have is my parents or my grandparents. I need to be able to pray over myself when I'm going through a rough time. I need to be able to pray over others if they're going through a rough time, rather than just always leaning on someone else to be your stronghold.
You know, you know, in this journey, it's like God wants us to lean on Him so much. Like I think of the parable in Matthew. When we are talking about the sheep or the one that left the 99. And I thought about how, like, what was the situation? Now, because it's a parable, I mean, like you could really phrase it as whatever way you want to frame it. But I think about, the one that left the group that wasn't there. That's the black sheep. That's where this whole idea concept came from. The one that God chases after, the one that didn't fit in, the one that rebelled, the one that was not accepted, the one that felt like church didn't was that that church wasn't working out for them anymore, and so
Yeah.
they left. Um, this is a situation where you have clung to God in your deepest moments, in your darkest moments, when some people probably don't cling to God in those deep moments. But yet
That's
you
true.
have. You didn't allow what you had went through to tear you away from your belief. You know, you didn't allow your tests and your trials to, just stomp on you until you couldn't move no more. But you found God in the depths. You found God in the valley. You found God crying. You found God weak. But now you found God strong.
Yes.
And so that's kind of where, I kind of want to hang our hat on is what has it been like now finding God in your strength?
In my strength, finding God has been a journey. And the reason why I say a journey, because it's not always to find strength in God during troubled times, during rough batches and patches throughout your life. But I've learned to just cling on to Him because I used to carry the burdens of just about the world, carry the burdens of everything that I really could have nothing. It was nothing in my power that I could do to be able to help. And over time, I just realized I'm just like, if you truly just give it to God and allow Him to be able to work through whatever's going on, and you stop trying to get in the way of what He could work out, then things will probably work out a lot smoother for you. So I just learned to get out of the way and be able to focus on God, be able to focus on
moving forward, it hasn't always been easy. Like I have struggles weekly, yearly, sometimes daily, but it's a strength that you have and you got to yearn for it. Because if you're yearning for sadness, if you're yearning to sit in pity or just sit in what's gone wrong in your life, then you'll never be able to have that moment where you're just steadfast in the Lord. We have to be able to conquer what you're going through, not just sit in it. And that's become really a really major thing for me, is to conquer it. Allow yourself to be in God and allow him to move through you when you're going through rough situations. So,
Yeah. Um, that's wonderful. It's a perfect way to kind of, end and kind of gauge, where we are at. I don't think this is going to be the end of me having you on the Black Sheep Project as we still continue to unpack, your story. Um, I kind of want to let people understand that this is a platform where you can come and you can tell your story and you can open up. This is not a closed thing where you have to be a certain faith belief or you have to be a certain gender, you have to be a certain skin color. All stories has to be told. You
yes.
live to tell your story, so tell it. You have lived so you can help somebody else. A story behind a door is a story that tells nothing. And so if we are going to impact our communities, our family, our friends, our workplaces, our churches, our children, then these are the stories that heal. These are the stories that allow us to understand that, we have been through a whole lot of mess in our life, but yet God is still found in the mess. And I believe that as we are journeying through our black sheep phases in our life, that God is still working out something in the background. That God
Yes.
is not finished. For those listening, your story is not finished. So we have to understand that, in this life that we only get is one life, that we have to find something to hang our hat on. And what we can hang our hat on is the fact that your story is not finished. You are not finished. And so if you can encourage somebody's faith in their black sheep journey,
Sorry. What I would have to say is, during your time of being the black sheep, stay encouraged, stay uplifted. Don't allow what the world has to say to distract you on where you're going and where your purpose is. Like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Christian base, it doesn't have to be a religious base. Everybody has their own story, everybody has their own testimony, regardless of what your belief is. But you want to make sure that you don't allow no one to take that from you because you stay stuck in your story rather than having a a completed story or a story that happily ever after or the end. There will be an end, but your story doesn't end until your time is up. So right now you still have time to continue your story and you still have time to progress, still grow, whether you're still drinking, smoking, doing whatever type of lifestyle that you may have, your story isn't over. You still have time to grow, you still have time to rise and get to where you want to be and the purpose that is ordained for you as well. So I can say just keep going, keep rising. Even if you don't see a purpose in you yet, there is a purpose. And just allow yourself to be pushed. And if no one else pushes you, push yourself.
Amen. Thank you, Faith, for joining us on tonight. Um, you all, this is the first of many stories to come. And so as we continue to embrace more guests coming, go ahead, let somebody know that, hey, you have a story. You should go on the Black Sheep Project and tell it. And so, feel free to go to our Instagram, the Black Sheep Project TV. Send us a message. Let us know that you have a story too, that you want to come on and just speak out, that you have gone through something that you think that can help somebody else. And so I would do a disservice if I didn't leave you all in prayer. Father God, creator of the universe, thank you for allowing us to find strength in our story, for allowing us to find victory in our story. Through the ups and the downs, through the trials that we had to face. You have been there. You have allowed us to face all that we have to face. So now, continue to be with us. Help us to go through what we have to go through. And if we end up failing, be with us. Because we know that we're going to be there in the thick and the thin. We trust you in our process. Amen. Thank you all. Have a good night. Thank you, Faith.